My only remaining complaint is that I don't think it's very elegant to just dump all 20 flies onto the screen at the same time. I think a better solution would be to start with a single fly and let it reproduce. And if it has offspring, let those offspring reproduce until we reach the maximum number of flies that we want. So I'll define a variable to hold the maximum number of flies that we want. And I think it's a good idea to have a maximum, because if we go with this plan and have the flies reproduce, then the number of flies is going to grow exponentially. So you could overwhelm your machine pretty soon if you don't cap off the number of flies. And I'll make another variable to hold the current number of flies, and that will initially be 1. We'll just start off with a single fly. So we're going to have a loop that runs until the number of flies is greater than or equal to the maximum number of flies. And each time through this loop, we'll give each fly a shot at reproduction. So loop through all the flies, and then let them try to reproduce. So let's define a variable to hold the probability that a fly will successfully reproduce during one iteration of this loop. I'll just give them a 20% chance for now. So how do we give the fly a 20% chance of reproducing? We'll use our old friend math.random to generate a random number between 0 and 1, and we'll compare that to the birth probability. And if it's smaller than the birth probability, then we'll make a new fly. The way this works is, since math.random generates a random number between 0 and 1 uniformly, that number has a 20% chance of being smaller than 0.2. So we have a 20% chance of this condition being true and producing a new fly. The last thing I'm going to do is put a sleep statement at the end of this loop. Create a new variable to hold how long we want to sleep for. And set it equal to 1 second. And we're totally fine to do this to put the main thread to sleep, because all of the flies are running on fly threads. The reason I'm putting this sleep statement here is because if we didn't have it, as soon as we got to the bottom of the loop, we would go back up to the top and we would generate the maximum number of flies pretty quickly. So as it stands right now, every second we give every fly a 20% chance of producing a new fly. And we'll do that until we end up with the maximum number of flies. So here's our first fly. It should on average, take about 5 seconds to produce a new one. And it's done that. And now there's 2, and they each have a 20% chance of producing a new one every second. So we've gotten kind of unlucky, actually, that there hasn't been another one born yet. There we go. There we go. And then, as I said, it should be exponential, because each of the flies has a 20% chance of giving birth to a new one every second. Anyway, I think this is just a more fun way to produce all those flies rather than just dumping them all out at once.